Hi learners, my name is Julia and I'm an environmental educator at Osprey Wilds, and I'm actually currently in the front yard of my home, and I've been doing some exploring, and I want to encourage you to get outside to your own front and backyards to explore as well. And I found a super cool organism that I want to share with you. And to help us, I have my hand lens. Now if you don't have a hand lens or magnifying glass at home, you can also use a plastic or a glass bottle, and if you fill it up to the tippy top of the water and you look through it, it actually magnifies really well. So I'm actually going to turn around and show you. I'm in my front garden, and the stone here I found this really cool organism, and this is what we're looking at here, all these bright colors. Now you may have seen something like this before, and you might have thought that it was a type of moss, and it is actually different than that. And I found some over here on the stonework. Oh look, check it out. That's its name. This organism is known as lichen. And lichen is super awesome because it is actually two organisms in one. Now the first part of the lichen organism is something known as fungus. And fungus actually makes up 90% of the lichen. Now fungi are things like mushrooms or mold, and they are excellent decomposers in a forest ecosystem because they can break down organic matter. And they're actually one of the only organisms in a forest that can break down wood. So they play an important part in the energy cycle of a forest. The second part of the lichen organism is something known as algae. And with algae, think of the green stuff you may have seen on top of a pond, but algae is really unique because it can be single-celled or multicellular, so like giant kelp or seaweed in the ocean. And the algae part of a lichen is really important because algae, like plants, can make its own food, and that's through a process called photosynthesis. And that's where it absorbs the sun's energy and can transform that into usable sugars for growth and its own energy use. Now, the fungus relies on the algae for making food. So again, the fungus provides the structure for the lichen, and the algae provides the food. So think of the fungus like the house and the algae as the cook in that house. If you're looking for lichen in your own yard, a good place to look is on rocks or stone, and also trees. Now, I don't have any trees in my front or backyard, so that's why I looked in my front garden here on the stone and found lots of excellent examples. Now, worldwide, there are actually over 15,000 species of lichen. And in Minnesota, we have about 750 species of lichen. Now, that can be a little bit daunting, but there's actually three basic categories that lichen can be broken down into. And I actually have my lichen key here to help us out. So one of the types is called leafy lichen, and it looks almost like lettuce leaves, and it peels off easily from trees and rocks. Now, the type that we have on the stonework here, this brightly colored stuff, is known as crusty lichen or crustos. So it almost looks like dried paint, and it can be found on wood or rock. And the final type is known as shrubby lichen or fruticose lichen. And it kind of looks like an old man's beard. That's actually a common name for a type of shrubby lichen. So it's very scraggly and looks like a small bush. So here in my garden, we have crusty lichen. And it's typically brightly colored, like oranges, yellows, reds. We have some greens here as well. So those are just a few different types of lichen. Well, I hope you enjoyed exploring with me today, and I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about lichen. I encourage you to get outside and search for it. Have a great day, you guys.